Hey guys, it's Tony from Street Church Ministries and The Inside Job, and you're watching the Inside Job podcast. Thanks for hopping on board. Hey, this is week one of a brand new series. We're going to do a 3-week series. We've entitled this one, More in Common Than You May Think. More in common than you may think. I think it's a really important one, right? Because it gets down to the fundamental level of why we have a hard time loving people as we should and valuing people as we should, right? Listen, we are on this planet primarily to love God and to love others, right? And if we are doing that, that always means adding value to somebody else's life, period. And if we're not doing that, we have to ask ourselves, what are we really doing, right? So I think that this series goes to the heart of how we do that, right? How we add value to people's lives, especially people who are different than us. And the bottom line is this: God has made us uniquely different, and that's a good thing, right? We are different in shape, size, color, in things we like, things we're good at. We're different with a capital D, which is a good thing, unless it prevents us or hinders us from valuing people as we should and from loving people as we should. And the truth is, I don't know about you, but it's true for me. I have a tendency, and I think most of us have a tendency, to focus on our differences, the things that make us different, rather than the things that we have and share in common. And sometimes our differences or our focusing on our differences jam us up from valuing others. So the truth is, we see people as we are, not as they are. I'll say it again. We see people as we are, not as they are. Okay? If we're arrogant, if we're judgmental, if we're hypocritical, then we're going to see people in a certain light, right? If we're full of ourselves, then we're going to see people in a certain light. We see people as we are, not as they are. And the truth is, or the trick is to see people as Jesus sees them. Because how we see people will determine how we treat people. How we see others will determine how we treat others. Period. Jesus even said so in Matthew chapter 6. I'm sorry. I should know. I'm sorry. Chapter 6, verse number 22. Jesus said, "The eye is the lamp of the body. So then, if your eye is clear, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness." So basically, Jesus is saying, you better see people, or your eye better be clear. You better see as you should see. You better put the right lenses on and see life and see things and see human beings as you should see them, as I see them, right? Because if you don't, you're never going to maximize your full potential as a follower of Jesus, and you're never going to realize why you are here on this planet. And we're all here to love God and to love God and to love others, and that always equals adding value to people's lives. So, how are we supposed to see people? Listen, I've been ministering in inner city, urban areas for years, and lots of the times I run up. I'm with people, I talk to people. I'm ministering in, and atmosphere where I don't have shared experiences that of those people who I see and talk to and minister to. Okay, I don't have a common shared experience. I don't know what it's like to be incarcerated. I've never been incarcerated. Although in my younger days, I drank and I did drugs many years ago. I never was a hardcore addict, right? I've never been chronically, poor. I've never been homeless. So I don't have shared experiences. I'm different. So the tendency is to center on and to see and to focus the differences because of a lack, of shared experience, right? And that's a dangerous thing. And what I need to do is I need to see people as God sees them. So in Matthew chapter 9 in verse number 36, Jesus walks up to a crowd of people. And I envision a crowd of hundreds of people from all different walks of life. So just picture Jesus in a crowd of 150 people. And there's some people there who were really super poor and, when they were begging. There's others there who may have been ladies of the evening. There's others who were just hardworking fishermen grinding out a living, right? Other people may have been crippled or may have just picture people from all different walks of life, different people with all different issues. And Jesus walks up to them, and this is what it says. It's amazing. He says, this is Matthew chapter 9, verse number 36. When he saw the crowds, he looked at the crowds, and it says he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. So the thing that they had in common was they were harassed and helpless. And the reason why they had that in common is because they were sheep without a shepherd. So what does that mean? It means this. It means they never had a visible, adequate representation of a shepherd who reflected God's love and God's heart in their lives. And because of that, their lives were all jammed up. They were anxious, they were confused, they were restless, they were making mistakes, they were apathetic, they were fearful. They were different, but yet they had the same shared experience of walking around in harassed and helpless, wandering around anxious and fearful, because they never had a good shepherd who represented God's love in an accurate way in their lives. And when I see people who are all jammed up, and everybody's got their issues. I mean, we all have issues. But when I see people, who I minister to, who have burned bridges, who are getting high, who never seem to change, who are in and out of jail, who are, living and acting a certain way, it's helpful for me to put on the right lenses and see people in the right way, and ultimately to remember that in some capacity, people are making poor choices and decisions in some capacity because they've never had a good shepherd who represented a good, loving God in their lives. And I have to remember that, okay? Rather than only seeing the things that make them different from me, to remember the fact that regardless of where you are in the socio-economical ladder, regardless of whether you are homeless and you're getting high every day, or whether you have a job in the computer field and you're making $125,000, but you're cheating on your wife and you never see your kids, right? Regardless of where you are on the spectrum there, the reason why you're jammed up and acting that way, in some capacity at least, is because you've never knew the Good Shepherd. You've never had a visible, accurate representation of the love of the Father, right? And because that, we can see people and we can have compassion on them, right? Rather than just looking and focusing on the things that make us different. Because that's not going to get us anywhere. That's not going to bring us to the place where we are doing what we are supposed to do, and that's adding value to people's lives. And remember, Jesus didn't value some people or certain people. Jesus valued all people. And that word all is a very inclusive word, okay? It's people, it's people that love Jesus. It's people that don't love Jesus. It's people you don't know. It's people you'll never know. It's people you don't like. It's people that don't like you. All people is all people. And remember, we treat people as we are, not as they are. So the most important thing is to see people for what we have in common rather than our differences, right? So anyways, that's week number 1. We have 2 more weeks of this series, and I think it's so foundational, right? It's such an important foundation to sort of help us to get past that natural tendency to just, look at and look for the things that make us different from each other, and to allow that to be a hurdle to valuing each other. This is a really important series, so I hope that you'll join us next week. Until then, have a great week.